So the Galatians from Anatolia, one of the few Celt in the eastern regions outside of Gaul, and a very unique faction run too, as they are one of two, the only one of two heavy arch factions that are Celtic, them and the Getae. Except they employ mercenary eastern armoured archers, whereas the Getae have their own sort of kind. The Getae infantry is the best mid-tier in the game, if you take aside cost effectiveness. They are very expensive, but they also outperform literally everything else, except in the certain situations where the tribal might be better because of the higher armor and melee defense from Tylus. They have a few useless units like Celtic tribesmen and Galatian spears. Their cavalry is actually well-rounded because you're mixing that Celtic, their good Celtic cav with the skirm cav of eastern factions, and even the mid-tier Cappadocian they have the mercenary. They have the good low tiers in the Freeman, and the Galatian sword, which is like a more slightly expensive but more aggressive version of the Celtic. They lack elites. They have a Galatian nobleman, but it's not a good unit. It is, but it's not one you'd bring because it's not. It's gonna kill like one or two mid tiers, and that's about it. For 1150. And I think it's just you're just gonna get more value out of a noble horse, and the extra flexibility from taking the noble horse gen option, as they've only got two. It really would set Galatia apart. Like, if you're seeing a Galatia on the field, you can expect excellent cav, excellent infantry, and excellent archers. It's a very, very powerful faction. And I think it could go toe-to-toe with Rome very easily. And, yeah, we will go meet them on the open plain now. So we'll start with the Levy Freeman. You know, we've gone over plenty of times before. Very cost-effective loader at 210 with good bonuses as large. It's got javelins. It's great for pushing out siege equipment, burning towers, and holding its own in melee with that high 55 melee defense, though it's lacking like abysmal offensive stats. It will break easily, but they will hold a position long enough, hopefully, for you to bring up something a bit more meat to them, like the Galatian swords. They're a bit rarer in Galatia compared to like Arverni, because you get more Galatian swords that you can bring Levy Freeman, one or two, on attack and defense, because Galatian swords are expensive, so are Galatian legionaires. Galatia is a very expensive faction. Celtic tribesmen are worse Levy Freeman. They're more one. They get higher mass and a better weapon in terms of damage, but they lose out on that bonus versus cav and every other stat for some extra mass and 70 more. Never bring the Celtic tribesmen. They're not good. Galatian swords, an aggressive Celtic warrior with really high charge bonus, good weapon, okay health, okay armor. For 380, they are on the expensive end of low tiers. They got good attack, very good charge, like I said, good defense. These guys pair very nicely with the Galatian legionaires, though they do fall the way to missiles faster than a Celtic warrior would. Yeah, you're always going to see a lot of these guys in Galatian armies. They're very, very deadly, and cycle charging mid tiers they can do quite well. But be aware they are somewhat squishy due to 5 less health than the Celtic. But always bring them. Galatian Spears I'd never recommend bringing unless you're just memeing. They do have cav counter, which is quite nice. Really high melee defense. Pretty good morale, actually. They're for 440. Okay offensive stats, good charge bonus. But typically I wouldn't recommend bringing these guys. They have cav counter. 45 bonus versus large. Well, it's good to topple cavalry, assuming the cavalry doesn't flatten them immediately. But, you know, if you really need an anti-cav tool, it's like the same argument with the Spear Warriors. I'd still rather have two Levy Freeman. Galatian Legionaries, best mid-tier in the game. Look at that. Look at those stats. Beautiful. For 800 though, they are very, very expensive. Hard to bring a lot of them on defense. You can bring like 6 and 7 defense, but you won't have a lot of money for anything other than them and some skirmishes. So you got to get a lot of value on these guys, otherwise you're screwed. Like factions such as Macedon don't stand a chance against Galatia, because Galatia can match their Syrians, they can match their cavalry, and they destroy them in the infantry fight. So, Galatian Legionaries, I cannot glaze them enough. They are so good. It's just insane, their stats. Just look at them. There's just nothing else to say, is there? Naked Warriors for 480. Naked Swords, actually, for 480. They're slightly worse than the Arverni and Bowie ones previously covered, but they're still very good shock infantry. They still retain that high charge, the frenzy, the high melee defense, the bonus versus infantry. But 480, they're more worth it to bring compared to Bowie or Arverni, though you still won't really bring them because the Galatian Legionaries are so good and they have a devastating charge bonus anyway. There's no point really to bring Naked Swords, unfortunately. Unless they're just like naked men, but like, yeah. I wouldn't recommend bringing them. Galatian Noblemen are very, very good anti-cav tool. In a one-on-one, they beat the Spear Nobles of Arverni, I think. Unless I got that the wrong way around, just some useless information. They have 6 AP Spear, don't let it fool you, not 8. Got good, really good, melee defense, really good charge, really good morale, good attack, okay armor, 65 health. They're not brilliant, they're only 1150, but they're not going to kill other elites really, unless they're in a really favorable situation where like they don't get the counter charge or they're like tired or something like that. So don't bring them. Really just spam out the legionnaires and swords. They're skirmishers and slingers. Don't run skirmishers, unless you're facing like Lustani or DK. We've talked about these guys before. You're going to be bringing one of these to support your Syrians. 280, a cost-effective slinger. They'll do their job. They're not brilliant, but they're a low-tier slinger. Low-tier slingers will always just dump anything and should get their value back. Even if you don't see it in the kills, it'll be seen in the kills of your infantry due to the HP damage they are inflicting from a distance. The only good thing about these guys is the bad damage. That's it. Don't get them. Unless you really need to get mixed against ODK, then you can bring an extra one. If you have a +1 rule, that is. Syrian. You're going to be bringing for these all the time. Syrian, the most armoured archer in GC. Best in archer dumping infantry, due to the heavy shot and precision shot. They can go to Cretans very easily for 520. You can get 3 of them as their mercenaries. Always bring them. If you're not, you're throwing. End of story. Always bring the mercenary Syrians. They're just too good not to bring. In terms of the cavalry, you've got 2 good options. Merc Horse Skirms for the extra damage, where you sacrifice the melee stats. Or you sacrifice the damage for the melee stats in the Galatian Raiders. Both are light missile cav, these guys being very light. I'm not quite I think the Galatian Raiders got 550. These guys got 390, so it's a significant price increase. And on the charge, and probably not going to do that much damage, though don't quote me on it because I never use them. Both can be used as an anti-cav tool. These guys are the cheaper, more damaging ones. These guys are better at melee, though they'll evaporate on the charge anyway. So how much is that really worth? I don't know. But you can bring both units, I'd imagine. Any land battlers, please tell me in the comments which one is better. But I'd rather have the Hurl Skirms just being cheaper and higher damage. I brought 2 Noble Horse like an idiot. But they have 3 options. Noble Horse, Cappadocian, Light Horse. Never been Light Horse, we've talked about it before several times, just don't. Cappadocian, arguably the most cost-effective melee cav in the game, with really high attack, really good weapon, really high charge, good armor, good health, good morale, and okay melee defense for 820. You can make 2 of them. They can help you really well against those Sally factions, and even in campaign, because, you know, you're right next to stuff like Armenia, Parthia. The Noble Horse, last but not least. We've gone over it before. The best melee cav in GC. Excellent health, excellent offensive stats, excellent charge and defense. For 1300, this is your most common general option. Adds that flexibility and versatility in your army by taking it as a gen option. They'll go to toe with other elite cavalry. And as long as they don't even have to be supported that well, as long as they're not being showered with missiles, they'll be fine. They are really, really good. The only competition really is the Royal Cataphracts. Then they might start to have some trouble, but that's it. And that's Galatia. A small roster, but a very, very powerful one. Similar to the Bowie. Compared to the Bowie, sorry about that, as it's the closest thing I can compare them to, they trade the cost effectiveness for the better stats and more elite skirmishers, essentially. Galatian Legionnaires are better, but more expensive, and they get better archers. I'd say Galatia's better than Boii, though with Boii you can bring more numbers due to the cheaper missiles and cheaper loads. But that's Galatia. Getae will be next. Bye bye.